think that I forgot. If I remember again, so you come back to this later. Discussion form. Okay. Friday. So for this Friday, what I will do, because the last story, so I will demonstrate how you do the coursework too. Of course, I probably cannot finish the whole thing, but I will try to do ER modeling, translation to relational database schema. If I have time, I will implement MySQL. If I don't have time, then I'll probably do a little bit PHP stuff. But it should be straightforward. So I will be using the example which from coursework 1. So for coursework 1, which I give you is computer people. That one is very limited. You only have list of people, which does not give you too complicated data model. But I extended already. So in last week and the week before, have people, staff, students, department, and faculty. So on this Friday, I will try to make it even more complicated to have super type and sum types, and I will see how that can translate to database. So if you do want to have some interactive demonstration of that, to come to Friday session. Okay, so let's go back to one-to-one first. Yeah, one-to-one. So one-to-one relationship is simple to implement. What you need to do is simply add an additional attribute to either side, and then that attribute will be a foreign key pointing to another relationship representing another entity type, which then gave you a one-to-one link between those two relations representing the two entity types. Now let's move on to one-to-many. We still use the person-office relationship, but we change the business rules. Now the business rules are one person can have one office maximum, but one office may have multiple persons sitting inside, which is closer to reality, because if you look at consumer departments, you will see entry most research staff or most research students are sitting in a large room. And in some other departments, you will even see academics sharing a single room, because this university, generally speaking, is a lack of room. So in that case, the rule is, hopefully you can derive yourself. In the one-to-one case, we say you can add attributes either side. In this case, think about what actually is the difference when you change this one, which means one person can still have maximum one office. Okay, this remains. Then this sounds like you can still do the same office. It is still an attribute of the person, because the person can have maximum one. No office. No office, value none. With office, it will be one office. And then that one office will be pointing to the primary key of the office relation, which represents the office, and nothing wrong with that. It is exactly the same as before. However, the other way around does not hold. In the previous case, we talked about, because one office can only have maximum one person, which means the person is kind of like an attribute of the office. but now the rule change. If you still want to think about person is attribute of the office, then you ended up with this. Office, number, size, telephone, because it's one-to-many relationship. One office can be taken by maximum many persons. Okay? If you have to, if you really want to do the same as before, then you end up with persons attribute rather than person as before. So remember, persons is a multi-value attribute which should not be done this way. Then, if you still want to do that, then this one will need to be converted to another relation, which is then representing a list of mapping from of this person, which is still possible, but which is far more complicated than simply adding objects into the person relation than simply pointing to the object relation. So this is, you do have problem, but the second is much more complicated. So the rule then says, in that case, forget this way because you don't want to complicate stuff. One-to-many or many-to-one relationship, add the attribute to the relationship to the relation representing the entity type as the actually many type. Depends on what you mean. So either you say many sides, you are talking about one office can have many persons, or you say one side if you are talking about one person can have maximum one office. Probably let's use the notation on the ER diagram. One-to-many or many-to-one relationships, when you want to represent the relationship, add one foreign key to the entity type, so you see the many closed ways. But remember, the many closed ways representing this one's maximum cardinality. Okay. Which means you add an attribute to the side such that many persons can have the same office. Many persons can have the same office, which is what's represented in here. Which is a little bit kind of, if you don't think of any concrete example, it would be hard to remember. So don't try to remember the line over there, because when you talk about adding something as inside out, what I mean, not inside. Think about what I mean. Think about, you add attributes in here, which means multiple persons can have the same value of the office. So you add that into that relation representing that time, not the other way around. If you add the other way around, or you can simply try to add to the other way around, and you ended up with multi-valued attribute. If you add again person down to the office, because of one-to-many relationship, you ended up with persons. This is the way how you actually exclude this option and you go back to the others. Again, in the exam, if you asked about this, even if you get this one wrong, if you say at one time, and I will look at how to explain that. If you actually explain the correct, you will get your mark. So it's not about this single sentence, two relationship between the foreign key and the unsigned, which means unsigned. But sometimes it can be complicated to say what's the meaning of the unsigned, because it always look from one side to the other. So you may find it's a bit tricky to call unsigned on one side. But anyway, the meaning is if you add the attributes and you know same value can be shared by multiple entities or multiple tuples of replications, then you go on that. The actual spirit behind this is you want to avoid multi-value attributes. Because you only have two options. You either add office to person or person to office. In one case, you have multi-value attributes. And the multi-value attribute is not allowed in relation to it because it's not good. It's not about you cannot do it. You can do it in execute, but it's just not good. So the spirit is look at two options. If one option calls multi-value attributes, don't go for it. This is one-to-many case. Is this still clear? Still about any question? Nothing different from one-to-one. One-to-one, you can do either case. Or one-to-many, you can only do as sign. This is okay. One step further, many. So we're still in the same case again. Remains change. Now the business rule is one person can have multiple offices. Vice Chancellor has many. Head of department may have many. Some central heads may have many. And even admin people may have many because they work in different places or different departments. The other way around, of course, still holds. One office can be taken by multiple persons. And previously, we actually said when we have the one-to-one case, we can move either side. When we have one-to-many or many-to-one, we can only do as a many side. But now we have many-to-many. Does this exclude any possibility of doing from either side? Yes, you're right. Let's look at if we need to use the adding attributes to either relationship, what do we do? Ignore the rule over there. If we have to do the same as before, person, ID, name, birthday. If you now have to add office, look at the relationship. One person can't have multiple offices. Alright? If you have to do that, this is not a single office, it's office. Right? Because you can't have multiple. Not good. You cannot do that. The other way around, if you want to do office, office, number, size, telephone, and if you want to add person sitting in the room, again, you ended up with plural. In either case, because each direction you have one-to-many, so you ended up with, if you have to use the old manner of adding additional attributes into either table and try to create a foreign key pointing to another relation, you ended up with a problem of multi-value attributes. And the multi-value attributes, as we said, need to be represented as separate tables. Not good, which means one-to-one, you can add attributes as foreign key in the table. One-to-many, you can add to the many side. Many-to-many, you end up with an option. You cannot add simply attributes. And the foreign key into any table and to solve the problem. So you have to remove them. Remove the attributes. Then the only option you have is to create a third table. Person, office, person, ID, for instance, and office number. I'm not using exactly the same thing as on the slide. Very simple. Since there are multiple different matches between person to office, let's simply record all the possible IP allocations. Web transfer to Senate House, some room, and web transfer to another office, head of department to office 1, and head of department to office 2, and office 3 allocate to person 1, and room 3 allocate to person 4, and so on. By doing that, we actually record the many-to-many linkage between the two entity types using a single and separate table. Which means one table, and one more for the relationship itself. And the root of the solution comes from, if you simply add attributes into either side, you ended up with actually multi-value attributes, which is not good. And in that case, you have to create a new table anyway. So finally, you ended up with 3 tables, 2 entity types, plus 1 relationship, which is for many-to-many relationships. Okay. So this is also why in the CW2 instructions, I'm saying that for the ER or ER model, you need to have at least 2 entity types and 1 relationship. But in the relational database, you must have at least 3 tables. 2 times 1 relationship, you ended up with 3 tables in your relational database. So the difference is okay. But that is suffice. Academic project, which is the relationship I used in last week. If you have to implement that, look at the crossroads notations. One project must be proposed by one and only one academic. One academic can propose 0 or many projects. One to many. Or you convert this thing into relational database. Yeah, the right answer is A. This is a one-to-many relationship, so you need to add 1 attribute to the entity type at the n side. And n side project, so you add this to the project. Okay. Now, rules change. One academic can propose 0 to many projects, and 1 project can be proposed by 1 or many academics. Or you are going to represent this in management. Yes, the last one. Man-to-man relationship converted to two tables representing the entity type and one table representing the relationship itself. And the third relation has two foreign keys pointing to the previous two relations representing the two entity types separately. Okay, finally, supertype and subtype relationships. If you have one supertype and a number of subtypes and a relationship among them, and the rule is pretty simple. For each type, you create one relation as before, and for each subtype, you have a foreign key pointing to the supertype. That's it. Because every single subtype belongs to the supertype. So you need to borrow attributes in the supertype. And the foreign key allows you to get things in the supertype table, to get all the attributes within there. So this is simple. So we don't, and in this case, the active constraints which we talked before, disjointness and participation, do not really direct apply. So although you may implement it in your database program to do the business rule checking. Okay. Summary. So entity type converted to relationship with a number of attributes or columns without the derived ones. If you have multi-value attributes converted into another relation with the foreign key pointing to the main relation representing the entity type. Relationships, one-to-one, a foreign key in either side, one-to-many, a foreign key added to the entity type at the end side, many-to-many. Addition and third relation with two foreign keys pointing to the two relations representing the two entity types. Supertype and subtype. So each is a relation, and all the subtype has foreign key pointing to the supertype. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are the 6 fixed rules. As I said, they are very, very fixed, which means if you have ER model and ER model which are machine readable, those rules can be applied automatically to create the relational schema. And then, of course, that can be further translated to semantic derivative line. For your coursework, you will need to do this manually, of course. Create your ER model or ER model, and then convert it following the rules to a relational database schema. Implement it in MySQL, and then link it with PHP. Okay. Announcement. I've done it. Now we're going to finish everything which actually is part of the assessment, and when we have a quick look at some advanced stuff about the relational database. So remember why we are doing the ER modeling from the very beginning, because we want to have a good design of the database, relational database in our case. And other than trying to have a good model and then translate this relational database, there's also another way of doing the same thing. You can design a database, and then you have a number of rules which you can check, and then to see if actually you design properly. If not, you change it. Keep improving until actually you have a better design. So we started with a bad design. So forget, we don't really have any modeling. We just grab an application, and then we just design a database, or we design a table structure, and without really thinking about if it is good or bad. But look at that. This is a table about projects again and proposed by academics. So because you are lazy, we thought, okay, let's just use one table to do the same. Why need to create 2 or 3? I don't want that. I just want this one. Can anybody recognize what are the problems of this table? Any problem? Do you feel this is look right? If you look at that. First line, my name, my rule. Second line, my name, my rule. And third line, Anthony. Fourth line, my name, my rule. And fifth line, Anthony. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tues. Attributes that are repeating themselves. So you
yes.
can do that twice.
So the term I would like to use redundancies of duplication. So yeah, this is single table which is simpler, but on the other side, I mean, come on, you are repeating stuff. I mean, why are you repeating stuff? The principle does not look right. Yes, redundancies. Really, redundancies is not something which we like. And you see that redundancies will cause trouble, we will see very soon. Even without any trouble, and redundancy itself is a waste of space because you actually restore 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, and 2, which actually you already probably wasted 20% or 30% of the space, which you probably should be used for something else. So solution, very simple. Split it into 2 tables and supervisor 1 table and project another table and a foreign key with only supervisor ID pointing to the supervisor table. So save some space. This is trivial. If you don't do that, you still say, okay, I still want to use the way which I created it in the first place because I like it. It's simple. Although it has redundancy, but it doesn't matter. Redundancy, I have plenty of space. Okay, then you will have problem about so-called. The first thing is called insertion anomalies, which means if you want to insert another project supervised by me again, you have to insert my name and you have to insert my rule again. So, and then you have a problem because you have to know those things beforehand. If you insert stuff which are different, you have a problem with over consistency. So, if you create another line, a new project with 6 image forensics, 6 video forensics, my name. If you then forget my rule, you have to put a lecture in, and then the table will contain conflicting and inconsistent information about me. I'm senior lecturer and lecturer at the same time because this is how is there stuff here. It cannot be easily checked. And similarly, you can also have so-called deletion anomaly, which means if you delete all the projects which are proposed by me and all my information disappears. Because you depend on the project table to store my information as academic. If you delete all the projects which are proposed by me, then you don't have my information anymore. Which is a problem. Because if you do want to keep all the academic information, so you don't want to do that. Further, you can also have something called update anomalies. If you want to update my rule, for instance, if the university changes senior lecturer or to associate professor, which has happened in a number of other UK universities, which we also expect to happen in here, but we don't know when, then you will have to update not only one row, but 3 rows. All the 3 rows need to be updated, which means you spend more CPU cycles. And if your system crashes in the middle, and your system will contain inconsistent information again. Okay. These actually are the problem all caused by the redundancies. Another thing we don't want is non-value. So if you have a project without a supervisor, because if the head of the department says, okay, I want the student to do something, and I need to look for somebody to supervise that project, but temporarily I haven't found anybody, so then in that case you have two nouns. Because the supervisor name will be noun, and the supervisor rule will be noun. So you have two nouns, which actually are the things which we don't like. Because the more nouns you have, the more potential problem you have. Because when you compare a noun with the not noun value, you have not clear answer about what that means. So we always want to minimize noun values. So if we then create two tables, one for supervisor and one for project, then you will reduce the number of noun values to only one. Because for that project, the supervisor ID will be noun, name and rule, which is good to reduce potential transfer value problem. So, some design rules. Each relation corresponds to one. When we actually start from doing entity type relationship model, to make sure one relation, one entity type, or one relationship. So you don't have mixed attributes. And also double check if your database has insertion, deletion, updated anomalies, and which has to be checked after you have the database in place. Also look at redundancies and check if every single table you have, do they have redundancies, and if you have redundancies, how can you minimize them, or ideally remove them completely, and which is often not possible, because you have to have some level of redundancies. And also define your table in such a way that you don't have that many of noun values. Supertype and subtype may help. Why? Think about what subtype and supertype are about. If you define a single type entity type to cover all the different people and to cover all the special and the general attributes, which means for every single person, if you actually have a lot of attributes cover every possible things, office, rule, and some other, let's see, level, which is for students, right? And blah, blah, blah. And program for students as well. Then you ended up with, for every single person, there will be a lot of nouns. For academic, you don't have level, you don't have program, right? Because you don't have such kind of special attributes, you only have the common attributes. By creating supertype and subtypes, then you can move the common attributes into the supertype and then keep the special attributes to only the subtype, which then we have to reduce the noun values. If you only have one supertype or one type which covers everything, then you will have a lot of attributes which are not applicable to some persons. So you will have a lot of nouns added. There may be other rules, so we will not cover. And a little bit last thing which I will mention, but I will not explain too much, is a little theoretical thing called functional dependencies. What that actually means, I will skip this page and will go to this example. The functional dependencies basically means when you have a database, when you have a table design, in this case we have a bad design, title, supervisor name, supervisor rule, and maximum rule students. Look at dependencies among different columns. If you have things, like supervisor rule, which depends on supervisor ID. However, supervisor ID is further depends on the primary key of the table. This is something called transitive dependency, which is not good. And you probably can vaguely feel that, it sounds like not good, because it sounds like you have two levels of dependencies, and the dependency actually comes from you have an embedded supervisor table with the primary key embedded into another table. So this is how the actual internal dependencies comes. This column is not only depends on this, which is the primary key of the whole table, which also depends on something else. And this is something which actually triggers the thought that this table is probably not good, not well designed. And there are a number of so-called level of goodness, and starting from 1.5 and until even 5.5, and I will not go too deep into that, and some of you may have learned it in college or A-level. And the key thing here is using the functional dependencies and check your table and to see if you have these and that different kind of dependencies, and then see how you can remove that dependencies. And those kind of dependencies normally means your table can be further split into smaller tables, and you haven't done it properly. And if you split your table until the point such as you don't have any dependencies for any of those tables, and it depends on what kind of dependencies you are checking, and you will have a different level of goodness. And the 3.5 normally is something you normally do in reality, but given the time limit and also the need to explain the functional dependency stuff, so I will stop here. So if you are interested, you can try to learn yourself. And the end solution of making the database bad design into better design is to split into two tables, 1 and 2. Then if you double check every single column, all the single column depends only on the primary key, depends on the primary key and only on the primary key. This one as well, all the columns depends on the primary key and only the primary key, which actually makes it a 3.5. And if you do this in your coursework, you will get a bonus mark. For the readings, and there's also some web design stuff which I will not really talk too much. I will just show you some design elements you need to consider. Go beyond this module, because this module is about programming. You do the programming bit, but for designing a website you have more to consider. These concepts, even including legals, but legal you will be learning in next semester on in professional study. And the number of questions you need to ask, and the number of technical aspects, page layout. You have a number of options. You can also include stuff, include a static page into another static page. You can have overlapping layers using Z-index, CSS property. Coloring. We covered something about coloring, but we didn't cover the text. Fonts. Multimedia, which means audio, video, graphics, animation, and anything else which you need yourself. And tomorrow there will be, if I remember correctly, 4 optional exercises which will guide you through those things, such that you can expand your knowledge about a number of things, and hopefully also allow you to better to learn more on your own. Okay, so then we'll see you tomorrow. So next lab session. So the lab session, first you will do EER modeling on paper, and then you will do translation to relational database, and then you'll move on to another stuff. And Friday I will do the coursework demonstration.